So a few weeks ago, Aaron and I went up to this trailhead on the edge of Elyria to ride the North Coast Inland Trail. As we were riding it, we stopped and saw a map that showed the trail also went in the other direction. So the first time we went up here, I made a video about, I guess 3 weeks ago. We went over this intersection and to the left, and that's where we connected to the North Coast Inland Trail. This time we went in the other direction. So when we saw the map showing that it also went north to Lake Erie, or a different connector trail went that way, I had said that in the video, and a number of you mentioned to us that it's actually a really pretty trail to ride in the other direction. Me and Aaron both, it was a hot day, we wanted to go for a swim, so we decided let's go back up to the same trailhead, ride in the other direction, and ride up to Lorain on the water, and that's what we'll do. So it goes through neighborhoods at first. I would definitely go to the Lorain County Parks website. It has a lot of great information. There's good signage and there's trails, but it is a mix of trails and neighborhood roads in the beginning, and it goes through downtown Elyria. We overshot it. We missed our turn, realized it, and then turned back around. I mean, we didn't, we were only a few blocks out of our way, but, you might want to double check that if you are concerned about it. Anyways, you also can skip this section if you want. There are a number of trailheads that are farther along if you didn't want to ride through here. I always like seeing downtowns of a city, and surprisingly, I have never been to Elyria or Lorain as far as I know. This is where we stopped to check our maps and turned around. So yeah, we went through this neighborhood road to connect and back onto the trail, and I think this part is actually part of the official route. Like I said, it's well signed, but maybe we just weren't paying as much attention as we should have been. These are the cool signs that we saw last time that showed us where we were going. They're interesting because they're like subway style signs. They've kind of flattened, straightened everything out, and you just read the mile markers, and so it's really simple to understand, but they don't show you all the twists and turns. As you can see, we're going along here, which is another place you would be able to park and start at. The beginning of the trail, I believe, is called the Bridgeway Trail, and you can see why in this scene right here. But yeah, so it was really pretty. There are a number of kind of ways to go. On the way back, we came into this park and went out a different way to, me and Aaron are always trying to get as many different miles and see as much as we can, so that's something we had done. That's the bridge we came over, then you loop back around under. We actually rode all the way around through this park, but you could actually cut off a section here as well as if you were looking for less mileage. So it does seem like there's also some spur trails through here, some that go to waterfalls and all that. So like I said, if you go to that website, you could probably do a little more research on that. Now, we had just kind of planned to go up the trail the way we had seen and then get to the lake. There was also a big pier up there I wanted to check out before we went swimming. Just like having never been in the area, just wanted to go out there and along the marina and see all that kind of thing. This section here is basically a sidewalk along some stroads. They do have it signed as a bike trail, and they do have like the buttons to cross the road that speed up the lights and all that. It's obviously not very exciting. It's just that kind of, corporate area with a bunch of box stores and stuff like that. Still, it's cool they're making an effort. They're trying to link it together and make it that it's a coherent, bike route. So it is what it is. This is the way our country and cities are built, so you sometimes have to get through these areas. So I'm just glad they do make it known that, hey, bikes are allowed to be here on the sidewalk. This is what we're doing. Again, it doesn't seem like this area is big enough that they couldn't take away a lane and put the bikes, a dedicated bike lane, but we had no problems on the day we were here with pedestrians or anything like that, and we were able to move through pretty easily. And again, same thing here. If you did want to skip a section like this, there are more trailheads farther down the path. The trail does kind of change names a couple times. Like I said, that beginning part is called the Bridgeway Trail. And then the rest of the trail, I think, is just the Black River Trail, but it runs through the Black River Reservation. I did see a section on the map that looked like it was called the Steel Mill Trail, I believe, but it's all pretty contiguous with the signage and all that, so you really don't need to know all that stuff to be able to do it. And obviously, Steel Mill Trail, you pass one of the big old mills. Lorain County, used to have shipbuilding, used to have a big assembly plant for cars, and a couple other industries that unfortunately are all gone. So it's definitely a Rust Belt area. But seeing both the towns, at least there was some cool places, and it seemed like there was some activity going on. This was a Sunday, so a lot of the stuff that we looked at happened to be closed. But the cool thing about through the Black River Reservation here is all these bridges, and this is what you guys had told me why we should ride it. Definitely worthwhile. The trail is You know, since it does follow this river is curvy, there is some undulation. I mean, I have the Strava link below. I don't think we climbed more than 600 or so feet, but there is actual, you know, little bit of climbing. You could pick up some speed. You could, you know, change up your effort. And yeah, again, just these bridges after bridges, just really, really cool. And definitely a worthwhile trail. Probably one of my favorite, just like classic bike trails, you know, paved bike trails I've ever ridden in the area. You can see there's another bridge we're going to cross way over there on the other side of the creek. It just kind of keeps going, the river. Sorry, I don't know why. There must be a Black Creek somewhere that I have in my head somewhere, but the Black River, back and forth. Erin had said at some point, she's like, I got to be honest, I'm not sure I've ever heard of the Black River. And I really only know it from where we cross it on the turnpike. So, and I was just coming back from Michigan this week and being on the turnpike and noticed it again. Anyways, if you see, we've stopped a couple times. Erin had put a different Brook saddle under her Crust Bombora. She is super sensitive to bike fit, so depending on the shorts she's wearing, the saddle, and all that, she does like to really dial it in and change it. I do like to get my stuff right, but I remember buddy Jay Dandy was saying once that there's two kinds of people, the kind that are like really sensitive to bike fit and the kind that can kind of go with whatever. Then I find myself to be in the latter half and Erin in the former. This was just a little overlook of the river. We stopped and circled around a couple times to check it out. There's a number of these along the way. It also looks like the different parks besides the reservation, or including the reservation, has a lot of different hiking trails as well. There were canoe and kayak put in spots and stuff like that. As you can see here, just really pretty curvy trail in the shade through the woods. Another really cool bridge section here you come across. They actually had some speed bumps to slow you down as you got towards these bridges because you'd be coming with a lot of speed from either side. Something I've rarely seen on a bike path. I mentioned in the last video, and I will link it again, that the Plain Dealer, Cleveland's newspaper, did a cool video and a cool article on bike touring this trail. So connecting this with the North Coast Inland Trail and doing a couple day bike tour, that would definitely be a cool thing to do. That's what I originally had in mind when I found out about this trail, but so far we've just taken it by a couple of the different sections, and both have been great. I said in the last one, even though that was like a pan flat rail trail, it was much more interesting just because of the places you pass through than I expected it to be. And this was more the opposite, where it just had really good scenery, and again in an area that we just didn't really know a lot about, even though it's so close. I mean, I think Elyria and Lorraine itself, they're just like 20-30 miles from Cleveland. There were a lot of people out on the trail on this beautiful Sunday afternoon, but not in the way where it was so crowded or congested where you feel like you have to constantly be staying on your left and struggling to keep the pace you want because there's so much. So really good kind of balance of that it's a well-used trail, but not uncomfortably well-used. But yeah, we were, I don't know, pretty party pace. We had just gotten back 2 days before this from our vacation where we were in the Finger Lakes and had done a ton of riding and a ton of climbing. The day before this, I had actually done another ride as well. Met up with some friends of the channel who were rolling through on the Ohio to Erie Trail. Did a bunch that day, and I could have filmed it, but I just have so much content already that I really just didn't need to, and I kind of gave myself a break and spent the day before just enjoying the bike ride. Not that I don't enjoy it when I film like this anyways, you know, I always like to document what I'm doing, whether I was doing this channel or not. Yeah, and after having a week like that, I think I had over 300 miles that week, including these rides and the vacation stuff. So I've just been busy, and then I went straight to Detroit for a work trip. I'm just recording this the day after I got back from that. So anyways, I do want to get to the vacation stuff. So if you're interested in the Finger Lakes bike tour and some Erie Canal riding, get subscribed, and that'll be coming hopefully early next week as the next few videos after this one. You can see after getting out of the reservation, we're kind of going back through neighborhoods again and some twists and turns and sidewalks. Again, everything was really well signed along here, so no real issues. When we did have to jump out on roads, they were very chill, so no issue with that. As we got even closer to the lake, we were on a bigger road, but that road also had very well spaced bike lanes. I'm glad we got out and did something like this. I've been talking about it the last few years of during the summer, wanting to get out on the weekends and actually throw the bikes in the car and do some different stuff. I love to leave from my door and not deal with cars and just go ride my bike. It's great, but I do that all week long, and so it's nice to do a little more exploring of what the area has to offer. And again, just a great bike path this close to home with just not a crazy far drive, 35, 40 minutes for us maybe. So here we are now we're up along the lake, and this is where I was mentioning the road is a little busier, but the bike lanes were decent enough. And here where they went away, it wasn't a very long segment at all. This turned up and we saw there was a park up here where you could go swimming, but we decided to keep going and to check out the pier I was talking about first. Then there was also what I had seen on the map was a little beach next to this pier. There wasn't anywhere to change there though. It was just kind of like this small little neighborhood sandy section. People had their boats anchored out there and all that. And we did want to put our suits on and not do it awkwardly in the woods with a lot of public around. So we looked at the map and saw that Lorain County actually had a Lakeview beach that was full bathhouse and all that stuff, lifeguard on duty. So after we rode this pier here just to kind of check out the views and the marina, we decided to ride the next mile over to the actual beach. This is the little beach I was just talking about that we decided to skip. So this is a cool steel bridge over there in Lorain, and you cross over this, you're pretty much in downtown Lorain. You can see here that it looks like they will be putting in bike lanes along the road there. They're not quite there yet, but traffic seemed to understand that and were very respectful of us riding there. I'm guessing a lot of people do. So here you can see the beach. So just a great beach with some break walls. Lake Erie's warm. We're just being on a trip in the Finger Lakes where the water is really cold, or some of the deeper Great Lakes like Michigan and Superior that are cold all year long. Lake Erie is not like that because it's so shallow. This is a rose garden after we went swimming. It's been a part of that park, I think, since the 30s, I read. So pretty cool. Tons and tons of roses around there in this spoked type park. And this is downtown Lorain right here. Again, not much was open because it was Sunday, even though we saw some spots that would have been interesting. So we found a spot back in this new neighborhood with a marina. Unfortunately, they were closed for construction. So what we decided to do was head out to a gas station, just get some snacks, because we had seen that there was a brewery with a food truck back in Elyria that looked interesting. So we ended up just doing crackers and some drinks and then deciding let's go back to Elyria and check out this brewery, Unplugged Brewing, a place I was not at all familiar with. With having gone to that gas station, we did change up the way we got back to the trail a little bit. So if you look at my Strava and this is a ride you want to do, you can actually just break off and go right back to the trail without going down a road that we had gone down, which again was busier and had a sidewalk you could jump on if you wanted to. But for people who don't ride roads, probably be a little less comfortable on it. Not a big deal for people who don't care about that kind of thing. We also did go a different way back once we got real close to Elyria. We broke off at one of those early parks and made a loop out of it. So all in all, it was mostly the same trail with just a little bit of loop differences at either end, whatever. I can't talk. This here is back on that strode. It looks like we're riding a sidewalk, but again, this is marked for cycling and as part of the bike route and bike path. I do have to say also, even though we were riding at a pretty easy pace for us in general, I felt so fast because it had been a whole week on my gunner with its full touring load. And it's interesting because over the days when you're on a tour, the feeling of the weight goes away. It just becomes what you're used to. But then after that, however many miles we rode on that tour, then when you get back on a bike that is light, it is just so different. And the feeling of, we climbed up this hill here to go back the different way I was mentioning, and just how much easier it felt. It just feels like your bike accelerates and takes off on you when you're, so used to everything just moving slower. So this was the neighborhood cut Aaron planned, where we had broken off the trail up that hill to get back kind of a different way, get some new miles, as we say. And we did go back to the car first and then drove over to the brewery. We decided to get everything loaded up, head there, get dinner, and have some drinks before heading home. Well, I did. I wasn't driving. But anyways, thanks for everyone who suggested that we do this north section. It was definitely worth it. If you are in the area and you haven't done this trail yet, it's highly recommended. Very cool. Pretty unique. Thanks as always for watching. Thanks for hitting that like button. I will see you in the next one.